Hi everyone. Today I thought I'd do a video about my first ever lipstick that I owned. My first grown-up lipstick, because I feel like that first proper lipstick that you own is it's such a vivid memory, and it's such an emotional thing, and it's such a connection to your youth and your coming of age and all of that, that I felt like I would love to hear your stories as well. So I'll tell you mine if you tell me yours. So my first ever lipstick was my first proper lipstick was not until I was 16. The reason was I was very into makeup, applying makeup on other people, mainly doing stage makeup, so for school plays and things. And also I used to kind of sneakily use my mum's really, really expensive makeup to sometimes I'd get home from school and no one would be in, and then I would use all my mum's really, really expensive makeup and do like a Theda Bara look or a silent movie star look or a whatever, a kind of pop star look, and kind of just do myself with this full on look. And then I'd kind of look at myself in the mirror and then I'd wash it all off before my mum came home. So I kind of used to play with my mum's really expensive makeup, but I didn't own any expensive makeup. So the only kind of makeup I had was like Avon lip glosses or those kind of really cheap kind of roll-on lip glosses that were like Coca-Cola and things like that. So I definitely had like bits and pieces of like lip glossy type things or like a sparkly thing or whatever, but I didn't really wear, I wouldn't say I wore makeup as a teenager, but I was extremely obsessed with it, as you can probably imagine. And I loved doing people's makeup, loved doing my mum's makeup, anyone who'd let me do their makeup. And I actually just loved playing with my mum's makeup. And my mum used to keep all her makeup actually in the kitchen, and she had a drawer that I used to call the foundation graveyard. I used to call it that because she used to buy so many foundations and she never, ever could find the right color. So she'd kind of buy it in store and then she'd come home, and then she ended up with this drawer just full of foundations. And I remember saying to her one day, "Why have you got all these foundations?" She'd be like, "Oh, they're all the wrong color. I thought they were the right color and they're not." And I think that really clicked in me because I was probably about 13 at that point, and I thought, why are all these colours wrong and what's going on here? And it definitely sparked something in me to try and understand skin tones and why colours didn't match. But anyway, my first kind of proper lipstick. So building up to that, I'd been on a school trip, and I came to London. I was probably about 14. And I was given money to kind of spend on the school trip. And we stayed, I remember, in a youth hostel in Holland Park. I mean, it's a really lovely area. They used to have inside Holland Park, there used to be a youth hostel there. And my friend Annette and I, everyone were going to sort of touristy things. But our thing was we wanted to go to a department store and buy skincare, which seems like crazy I mean, nowadays it's nothing for a 14-year-old to go and buy expensive skincare. But back then that's what we want to spend our money on. So we were desperate to go to the Clinique counter because Clinique, although it had launched in like the late 60s, in 1968, it kind of really got into itself in like the mid 80s, late 80s. It was all about the 3 steps, and like it was all about Clinique. And the advertising was incredible. It was all the Irving Penn still life photography, which made the products themselves look so cult and so iconic. And I used to love reading glossy magazines or my mum's magazines. So I'd see these like iconic, almost like statues, these products that were so beautifully photographed. So we went off, and I remember on that trip, I bought some of the skincare, and I was very, very happy with that. So when I think I was 16, and I was like, I need to buy some makeup, like proper makeup. And then it was my granny that said she'd take me shopping for it. And I wanted my granny to take me because my granny was my favourite person in the whole world, as in like we were so close. I loved her so much. But also she could be a bit of a pushover for me. So I knew that I could say to her, well, I have to have it. I've got to go to the Clinique counter and I have to get this particular thing. And she would kind of go along with it. Whereas my mum would have been probably a bit more sceptical about the whole thing and a bit more sceptical about my options of what I wanted. So off we went with my granny to the Clinique counter in the really posh department store, kind of walked in. And I think back then, like department stores had such an air of like they were so elevated in how you felt kind of walking through the perfume halls and walking through those makeup, departments. They just felt so, just so chic and grown up and all of that. So I said to her, I need a foundation and I need some lipstick and I think a mascara or something. That's what I wanted. So I said, I have to get, it has to be from Clinique. And my granny, bless her, was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So off we went. And I remember I bought the pore minimizer. I chose the pore minimizer foundation. Had really, really oily skin and really spotty skin, quite acnogenic skin, quite a lot of spots. And that foundation, I know we're talking about lipstick today, but that kind of changed my life because it was so drying, which now I would hate. But then I needed it because my skin, I just turned 60, my skin was so oily. And it was almost like a liquid that you shook and it was full of powder. Now I understand the formula. It was so drying because it was all probably talcum powder. And then you put it on with a cotton bud and kind of buff it all over your skin. But it really evened out my spots and the redness around the spots. And it most importantly made my face deadly matte. And that was my dream at the time, to have this very, very matte look. And then when it came to the lipstick, I think, to be honest, the lady behind the counter, I was quite a young 16-year-old. She probably thought, oh, we should, sort of push her towards what was known then as the different lipstick. And it was a formula that was semi-sheer. Anyway, the lipstick that I chose was Pink Berry Stain Different Lipstick by Clinique. And this is my first ever lipstick. So it came in a silver pack like this. And then they also used to have, this lipstick actually launched in 1968. So it was one of the first lipsticks that launched in Clinique. So it was back in the day when they only had, I think, 117 items and they had Pink Berry Stain lipstick. And at that time, it was called a semi-lipstick. So it was kind of this idea, which was sort of a new idea, to have a sheer or a semi-sheer lipstick, because really up until the 50s, late 50s, nobody wanted a sheer lipstick. No one would have understood a sheer lipstick. So as that move into something which was freer and more natural looking, that really came in the late 60s, really. And then if you bought Pink Berry Stain lipstick throughout the 80s and 90s, it would be really, this packaging was only if it was a gift with purchase. These are the ones that are in my vintage collection as well, because they're just easier to find online. So these are probably from the 80s or 90s. I don't know the exact date, but these are how the gift with purchases used to come. And it was also an amazing thing because Clinique used to have great gift with purchases. So I thought, I've never actually used these, and I decided I wasn't going to use them. But I think today I really want to try on this colour, see if it is the way I remembered it, and also, just take me back to being with my grandmother, age 16. Okay, so this is the colour. It is pink. It looks not bright. It looks quite muted. It stinks. Honestly, this is decades old, this lipstick. So before I put this on, I will actually say, don't use old makeup. It's not a good thing to do. I'm always doing it. I'm always trying old stuff, but I don't recommend that you do it. But here we go. Oh, it tastes so disgusting. It smells so disgusting. I wouldn't have used a lip liner back then for sure. There just wasn't a thing anyway. But it's a lot brighter than I thought. It's a lot brighter than it looks in the bullet. And it's got a lot of white in it. I don't think that's because of degradation over the time that I've had it. Obviously, this is decades old anyway. I think it probably is just indicative of it being of that time. But also, I bet if I try all the different ones, that they will be slightly different, each batch, because I don't think they would have paid attention back then to the different batches and they have to redo the colours. I don't think they would have done that. So yes, that is my first ever grown-up lipstick that I loved so much, and it is called Pink Berry Stain by Clinique. It doesn't exist anymore. It was discontinued in the 90s. But please let me know in the comments, what was your first grown-up lipstick? If you have any stories, please let me know anywhere. I just love to hear your memories, really, of your first ever lipstick. And is it still available? Can you still buy it? Is it the same colour? Has it changed colour? Is it a colour that you would still wear today? Or is it a colour that you would avoid? Oh, I've got to quickly go and take this off. It is so rancid. But I hope that was fun, and I'll see you soon.